So this is one of the data structure. It is used to represent a single row in data frame. Okay, what this row consists of? Single row of data in data frame. Okay, so row represents a single row of data in a data frame. So how to define a row in PySpark? So we have syntax for that. So we can create a variable row is equals to capital ROW row. In parenthesis we have syntax. We can give the values. This is the syntax. Okay, row, we have to use the row method. This is one of the basic data structure. So from where do we get this capital ROW row? We get from PySpark.SQL. Directly we cannot run this query. Like directly we cannot paste this and we cannot run this. So to work with this row, what we have to do? We have to import it from PySpark.SQL. Okay, from this we have to import this row. So this is one of the basic data structure. Okay, from PySpark.SQL we will import this row and we will define the values. Understood, right? So we'll see the next data structure. So you are all familiar with that. That is a data frame. Data frame. This is the second data structure. Okay. So this organizes like data in form of columns and rows. Okay. So it is almost similar to SQL table. Okay. So data frame. So data frame organizes data in columns and rows, and it will be similar to the SQL table. Okay. And this data frame supports SQL operations, right? We have seen this also. So we have read the data from dictionary and we convert it into a temporary SQL temporary view, and we have performed SQL operations on the data frame. You remember? So data frame supports the SQL operations by creating a temporary view. Okay. What is data frame? It contains records in the form of rows and columns, similar to SQL table. Okay. So how to define the data frame? So again, from PySpark.SQL import, so here I'll create the data frame using the row. So I'll import row. df is equals to spark dot create data frame. We have seen this, right, in our previous all the classes. Just create the data frame and we'll pass the data inside this parenthesis. Okay. So it may be water data. We can pass the data here and we can how to display that df dot show. We can see the data inside the data frame. Okay. Here we can pass the data and columns. We can define the data before this, or directly we can pass the data here itself. Okay. This is not needed. I just given the syntax. Data frame equals to spark dot create data frame, data and columns, df dot show. to see the data frame. Okay. So in Spark we have we have one more data structure called dataset. Like this is not supported in Python. Okay. Dataset. This is also a data structure in Spark. Okay, but in Python we cannot work with this. There is no option for dataset in Python. So this is not available in PySpark. Remember, this dataset is not available in PySpark. It is only available in Scala and Java. So this is a third data structure. Row, data frame, dataset, and fourth one is RDD. So this RDD resilient distributed dataset. This is supported in PySpark. Resilient distributed dataset. What is this like? So this is a collection of elements again. Collection of elements. So that can be maybe tuple. So if you remember, it can be tuple, it can be dictionaries, it can be classes. Okay, anything. So collection of elements. Okay. And we cannot perform SQL operations on this. So in the data frame, we can perform SQL operations, right? So but on RDD, we cannot perform the SQL operations. Syntax for creating the RDD. So where like RDD equals to Spark context dot parallelize, and inside this we have to pass the data. So this is a syntax. So you have to remember this one. Spark context dot parallelize. So it is similar to create data frame. Like so here we have data frame, right? Create a data frame. So similar to that, to create RDD, we need the Spark context dot parallelize. Inside that we have to pass the data. So this is mainly used for unstructured data. Okay. And here data frame mostly refers with structured data. Okay. Like this is very important. What is the difference between data frame and RDD, resilient distributed data set? So data frame is a collection of columns and rows. These are interview questions. Columns and rows. It supports the SQL operations, and it mostly deals with the structured data. And while coming to RDD means like resilient distributed data set. So it is a collection of elements. That elements may be different kind of objects. Those objects may be tuples, it may be dictionaries, it may be classes, and this contains the unstructured data. Okay. Understood, right? This is the RDD. One more is, we have already seen this in our example Python programs. Struct type or struct field. So this is one more data structure in PySpark, struct type or struct field. So here, what is the purpose of this? It is used to define the schema. So in SQL, you will define the schema, right? For if I want to create a table, so I can define the schema before creating the table, so that we'll be able to understand what the table contains and what are the fields it contains. Okay. So it is used to define the schema manually. So we'll type manually, right? What are the fields we'll have? Schema manually. Okay. So this is majorly used when I want to read data from a JSON file or CSV file. So in those situations, we'll define the struct type, and then from using that struct type, we'll create the data frame. Okay. So when we'll use mainly used when while reading data from CSV or JSON files, or while creating the data frames. Okay. Struct type defines schema manually. It is mainly used while reading the data from CSV or JSON files. So what is the syntax? So you remember it. Again, this we have to import it from PySpark. PySpark.sql.type. Okay. Import struct type, comma struct field. Okay. From this we'll import this both. PySpark.sql.types. And what is the syntax? So if I want to create a schema equals to struct type, in this parentheses and square braces. This is the syntax. In this, we'll pass the values. What are the fields we have? Suppose if I have two fields, name and age. So we'll pass that two fields in between this. Okay. I want struct, how to pass that field. So I have two fields. One is name. So I have name and age. So these two fields are passed. But while passing this, we need to mention the type also, right? So what is the type of name? It is string type. Here I have passed string type. Okay. And one more. Here age. So age I want to mention it as integer. So in this way, we have defined the structure. Like this complete thing will from here to here will come. This complete thing we call it as schema. Okay. So first we will define the schema. Later we'll create the data frame using the schema. So this is just optional. Like we don't. It is not mandatory to create a schema. Okay. So in SQL, every time while creating table, we won't create the schema, but it is better to create the schema. It is not mandatory, it is optional. Okay. Understood? So this is struct type and struct field. So different types of data structures. What are row, data frame, data set, resilient distributed data set, and structure type. Okay. So what is on a high level, what we'll say? What is a row? Row is a single record. Okay. It is like a tuple. So here, if you see, this is a tuple, right? So in parentheses we will have values, right? Key values. This is similar to a tuple. Row is a single record. What is a data frame? Data frame is a table-like structure. It contains columns and rows. Okay. And what other thing we have? RDD, resilient distributed data set. So this contains like a distributed list. It may be tuples, dictionaries, or classes. Okay. It contains the unstructured data. And what is structure type? It is a, this defines the schema. Okay. If you want to read data from CSV or JSON files, then we can create the schema first. If while creating data frames also, we can define the schema and then we can create the data frame using that schema. Okay. And one more thing is dataset. This dataset is not supported in PySpark, right? It is supported in Scala and Java. We can ignore that for now. So hope everyone understood. So this is the theory part. So we'll see one program. Create a Python file. So first step is from PySpark.sql. What will import? So for any PySpark code, we need PySpark session, right? So I'll import this. Next from PySpark.sql, I'll import row. Okay, and again PySpark.sql.types. I'll import the structure, structure type, struct field, and so here one more thing is like so if I want to use the string type also, we have to import it. We have to import it along with this structure type, struct field, string type, and integer. This also we have to import. Okay. So similar to that, like I'll import all those string type and string type, integer type. So now I have imported Spark session, row. This is one data structure. Types. This is one more other data structure. Now, our first step is to create this Spark session. Please parallelly you also work with this code. Data structures. I'll give a name. Get or create. So we have created this Spark session. Now we'll create the row first then. Okay, first let's first we'll see the RDD. From that we'll see the other options. So here I will first create the RDD. I will create a data, student data. So for the student data, we'll define the values. Alice 24. Delete. So here Bob, I'll create one more data, Charlie 22. Just a minute. Yeah. So here like I have created the data with three students. Now we'll create the RDD from this. So how to create the RDD? Variable equals to spark dot spark context dot parallelize, and inside the parentheses we have to pass the data, student underscore data. So how to view that? RDD dot collect. This is a method. So here if you see, we are able to see the data. Okay. So first I have import like so here I have created this Spark session, and then I have defined the data. Directly I have used spark dot spark context parallelize student data. I have just passed the data. So to see the output, what we have called RDD dot collect. So this collect is similar to show for data frame. For data frame we use show. Okay, this is the data structure. Now we'll work with the row. So what we'll do, we'll create one more variable. So we'll use this RDD for this. RDD dot map. I'll use map function. So from that, like if you remember, we have lambda functions. For one line functions, we have lambda functions, right? Lambda x colon, here I use row x of 0, age is equals to x of 1. So here I close this. Then now we'll see the row underscore RDD dot collect. So here if you see, we have created 3 rows. Map will repeat this, right? So map will repeat all the inside conditions. Inside the function, it will execute for every record. So here we have our RDD have 3 records. So for 3 records, this function will be executed. So that like we have created the row. What we have seen here, how to work with row. Here if you remember, just row of the data. So here in place of this name and age, I have directly given the values, like dynamically I have given the values, name and age. Okay, that's all. Understood? ఇక్కడ ఏం లేదు, జస్ట్ మనము రో క్రియేట్ చేయడానికి సింటాక్స్ ఏంటి, రో అనే నేమ్ పారాన్సిస్లో మనం డేటా పాస్ చేస్తాం ఇక్కడ. సో రో పారాన్సిస్లో డేటా పాస్ చేయాలి. ఇక్కడ మనం డైనమిక్గా తీసుకున్నాం. ఆల్రెడీ మనకి ఆర్డిడి అని ఒక డేటా ఉంది కాబట్టి దాంట్లో నుంచి డైనమిక్గా తీసుకున్నాం. ఓకే, దిస్ ఈస్ ద సింటాక్స్ ఫర్ క్రియేటింగ్ ద రో. ఓకే, understood? So we have seen RDD and row. What next? Like we have data frame. So data frame, how to create the data frame? df is equals to spark dot create data frame. We directly pass our row RDD. We have our row RDD, right? I'll directly pass that here. df dot show. So here if you see, we got that data. So just we have call the create data frame method. We have passed our rows to this row data. We directly got the name and age columns with specific values. Okay, so here if you see, even by seeing we can say that data frame is the simplest form, like we are able to understand easily the data, existing data. Here if you see, in RDD it is very hard to understand the data. For visualizing also it is not that easy. But if you see this data frame, it is very easy to understand, and also to perform any operations it will be easy on the data frame. Okay, so that's why we call data frame as always this is structured data. Okay, we have structured table format, we can say, similar to SQL. Okay, here what is the purpose of rows? It is used to create the rows, structured rows again. Here if you see, and what is RDD? Resilient distributed data set. It can contain any objects, tuples, classes, dictionaries. It can contain any option, like any objects. And now the other data structure is struct type and struct field. What this is used for? Schema definition. Okay, so how to do that? We have seen this also. I want to create a variable schema equals to struct type so in this struct type we pass the fields, whatever fields we require. So here we have two fields, like name and age fields, right? So we have taken only one data. We are creating different data structures with that one data. We have created RDD, we have created row, we have created the data frame. Now we are defining schema for that data. So we have two columns, right? Like two fields. So how to define fields in the struct type? Struct field. So in the struct field, we need to give the name, and then we need to give the type. So it is string type, and we need to pass the parameter true or false. So whether this is mandatory or not, it is needed or not, or we can skip or not. This field says struct field age integer type. Here when I pass the true, and so now we have defined the schema for the data. Now how to, let's create the data frame like now. So here we consider this student data. So I have only that data. I don't have any columns or names. For the data itself, we'll create the struct, like schema. So I have created the schema for the data. Here I have mentioned the column names. Okay. Now df with schema equals to spark dot create data frame so here we'll pass the student data comma schema. So here if you see, in schema I have mentioned the column names and the type of the values, and student data we do not have any columns here, we just have the raw data. So using the schema we are creating the data frame now. df with schema dot show. So here we have created the data frame by using the schema. So here nowhere we defined a name or age after creating the schema. Inside the schema itself we have defined the column names and the type of the column values. Okay. everyone understood till here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here we have seen the RDD, row, data frame, structure like a structure type and struct field. Just a minute. Yeah. So now we'll see the RDD operations, different kind of operations that we can perform with the RDD. So we have seen all the other data structures, right? Now like we'll clearly deep dive into RDD. So first I'll create the data for RDD, sample data. So I'll create a separate Python file. Everyone, please you also create separate Python file and work with this. We'll create the RDD. So here, our first step should be importing Spark session. Okay, then we'll create the Spark session using this create. Okay, then I'll change the name RDD operations, and then I'll define the data. So here Alice. Hope everyone are doing parallelly. 28. Different. 22. So first one is HR. Next one is IT. This finance. And HR. So here I have taken 5 sample data students, like 5 employees with different departments and ages. And first we'll create the RDD. How to create RDD? You have seen, right? Using Spark Spark context dot
parallelize.
So here one more way of using is, so here instead of writing like this, we can create one more variable sc spark, like spark sc is equals to, we can create spark context. Here itself we can create the context. So if we create like this, then no need of writing, just instead of enter this we can just sc.parallelize. So what we have to pass in this parenthesis? Sample data. So one with this we are defined the RDD. So I executed this. So now here I have imported Spark session. I have created this session. I have initialized the sample data, and I have initialized the Spark context. From that I have created the RDD using parallelize method. Okay, now so we'll perform different operations. Like everyone, I hope everyone are doing parallelly. I have created the RDD now. I will perform like different operations on ages. Like if age is greater than something, like I want to give like respective value like senior or junior or something like the text. We'll perform those kind of operations now. So here I'll create one more variable using map. So we have map in. So I'll create some tag underscore RDD equals to RDD dot filter. I'll filter the data. So filter. Okay. Before this, first we'll filter the data here itself. Filter data equals to RDD dot filter. They are performing filter operation. How to perform filter operation? Like I'll just create the lambda function. Lambda x colon x of 1 greater than 25. So this will filter the filter out the data with age greater than 25. X of 1 means age, second column. Okay. I have run this now. So after that I'll take this RDD now. Filtered data. So instead of normal RDD, I'll take the filter RDD. This will not have the values less than 25. Okay, it will filter out the values that are greater than 25. Now I'll perform the filter operation on this filtered data. We got the filtered data right now. I'll map this. So using map, I'll create one more lambda function. So in this x lambda x parenthesis will pass 0. So x of 0 means the names, right? So here x of 0, and then the second one will be x of 1 and x of 2. So I'll get this 3 values, and after this I'll write I want senior if my x of 1 is greater than 30. Means what is x of 1 here? It is age, right? So x of 1 is greater than 30, then I want senior. Okay, else I want as mid age group. So here I have given like this. Okay, so here what we have done, we have filtered the data. So like we have given senior for age greater than 30 and mid for other cases. Okay, other cases means all like equal to 30 or less than 30 will be mid. Whoever greater than 30, here David will become the senior now. Okay, even Bob 30, as it is 30, it will become mid. So we'll see output last, like at end we'll see the output now. Now I have done perform this map operation on the RDD. Okay, here what we have done, like we have based on the age, we are giving the tags for the specific employees. Okay, so we have one more called flat map. So if I want to split the departments into different characters, so then we'll use the flat map. I'll show you how to perform that. So I'll create the flat map. Flat map example or what it may be, equal to RDD. This is RDD is our basic data, right? The first data. So RDD dot, we have method called flat map. M caps flat map. So this flat map, again I'll write one more lambda function, x colon, I'll access the list of x of 2. So x of 2 is like the departments. So here, if you see that dot collect, okay, flat map. Okay, here this is one. Okay, here we have 3, right? Okay, now it's done. So here if you see, I am able to split the departments into different characters. HR, IT, finance, again IT, again HR. Understood? Flat map. So what it will do, flat map? It will split the departments into characters. So in this example, it is departments. So if there is other context here, that will be split into characters. At the end of the day, the flat map is used to split the text into characters. Understood? So I just given one lambda function here. I have directly passed that column. As we do not have columns here, we are expressing in the way of x of 2. Okay. This x of 2 means this third column. So here we have used flat map. Next, suppose if I want to count by department using map and reduce by key. So we have one more method called reduce by key. So how to perform that? I'll show you that next. So here I want to count by department using map and one more function we are like reduce by key. How to use that? Now I will create one department RDD dot map. So in this map, I'll create one lambda function. So to access the values, we need to give x of 2. So here we'll give parenthesis to reduce confusion. X of 2. So here x of 2 comma 1. Then I'll close this lambda parenthesis. So this is done. Now I'll create department for count. So we have created one department for RDD, one department count here. So from the department underscore RDD, what we'll do, we'll use this reduce by key. So this reduce by key, here we'll create one more lambda function. This lambda function, like we'll use different parameters, a comma b colon a plus b. So you are adding this a plus b, then we are closing. So here if you see, we'll get the department count, department underscore count dot count. So here if I execute this, okay, just a minute, DPT department, yeah. So here if you see, we are able to see the count. How we got the count? First we are getting the RDD for departments. Okay, x of 2. X of 2 is means the departments, right? We need a count for this only, right? So we are first accessing the RDD for departments. First we are creating a department for RDD for departments using this map and lambda function. Later, we are getting the count. How we are getting the count? By using the reduce by key method. Okay, we are just adding the values. So if we get like when first time we'll get HR. Again, if we get HR, it will add to the existing one. Like those kind of operations will perform by reduce by key. Understood? But generally, like if we have heavy amounts of data, we'll prefer DataFrame. But to reduce the storage, we might use RDD. So RDD will be better, like takes less storage while compared to the DataFrames. So here I have count by department using map and reduce by key. Next. So I have done few operations, like we have seen different type of data structures, and RDD is one of the data structure. We have seen how to create RDD using this parallelize method. First we'll create the Spark context, then we'll call the parallelize method. For the parallelize method, we'll pass the data. So we have seen how to filter the data from RDD, how to get the count of departments, how to split into characters of particular column. Now I want to create a data frame using this RDD. So we can create the data frame. How to create the data frame? So for the data frame, we need columns, right? But if you see RDD do not have any column names here. So we have the data, but we do not have column names. So for creating the data frame, first we need the columns. So I'll create the columns first. Variable name columns equals to. So how we'll create the columns? The first column will be name. Second column will be age and department. And the last column will be tag. Here, if you remember, we have created the tag. Where we have created the tag here in this tag RDD. Okay, we did not see that output. Okay, I have created the column names now. Tag. So now I have created the column names. Then we can create the data frame directly. How to create the data frame? So we'll use tag RDD. So we have the RDD, right? This normal RDD is without this tags. I'll use the tag RDD so that we can get the tags column values also. Tag RDD dot to df, and we just need to pass the columns. That's all. If you see df dot show, that's all. We got the data frame now. So here, if you see, we are able to see the tag column also here with this data. If I use this RDD, we will not just get this tag column. So that we have to remove this tag then. So now, first, like we have defined the RDD. From RDD, we have performed this map operation using lambda. We have given some tags for the employees based on their age. If their age is greater than 30, it's senior. If their age is less than 30, it will be mid, or equal to 30 also mid. Okay. After that, we have filtered the data. Like later, like we have split the department into characters. Now here we have defined the columns. After defining the columns, we have used 2df method. This is important. So from RDD, by using 2df, to data frame method, we have passed the column values to the 2df, and we have created the data frame. So here you see we have the data frame again.